And I kid you not, I have heard some of the most random professions ask this same exact question. I've had a financial analyst, I've had a nutritionist, I've had a lawyer, I've had a lot of artists, I've had a Buddhist prison chaplain, I had a yoga teacher, all ask this same question. So, you know,
Fascinating.
wildly different. And they always ask, well, what story do you want to tell yourself? What story are you going to tell about who you are?
Olivia Gambelin, welcome to Quick Before You Forget.
Thanks so much for having me here, Ty.
I am so excited and so grateful for your time today. Friends, today I am here with Olivia, an AI ethicist, helping organizations and individuals navigate one of the biggest shifts of our time, the rise of artificial intelligence. But this conversation isn't about fear or overwhelm. It's about understanding what's actually happening, what really matters, and how we embrace our humanity in a world that's changing faster than ever. Because the truth is, AI is not the story. We are. And I believe our story is our superpower. So today we're going to walk through yours, Olivia, past, present, and future, starting with a childhood memory or a person or a transition figure or something from your childhood that shaped who you became today.
Okay, you're getting the first thing that comes to mind, which is probably not at all what you expected to hear. Because I could tell stories about the first time I spoke on a stage, the first time I led any type of research organization, or I was always the kid in the backyard that would convince other kids to play along with my make-believe. So you could only imagine what I convinced kids to do. Not in a bad way, mainly just like in weird dress up ways and running around the neighborhood half clothed. Um, those fun things. But I think one of the core memory actually that popped up immediately when you were talking, perhaps this is just where I'm at today and what's on my mind. I grew up when I was, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years old, very, very young, formative years. I had a rainbow cape that I wore everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean everywhere. This thing just lived on me. Sometimes with no other clothes. It was just the rainbow cape. Oh, and
Beautiful.
the little plastic princess heels that you had as kids that weren't really heels. Yep, that was my favorite outfit. Like I said, rainbow cape, plastic princess heels, nothing else. That
Right.
was my favorite outfit.
Got
At
it.
least to run around the backyard. And I tell this story because I loved that cape. But the fun thing about it is it always took on a different shape or form for me. So I would sometimes I wore it around my head because I was a mermaid and I needed mermaid hair.
Right.
Sometimes it was around my shoulders because I think I was flying those days. And then other days, it's around my waist because I don't know, probably I was a hula dancer or something. But it was this piece of real tangible imagination that was brought to life for me. And I think the best part of it is I loved to talk when I was little. That was always a problem. Not necessarily a problem, but it was always my parents and relatives and anyone watching me. It was a game to try and figure out how to get me to sit still and sit still quietly. Didn't work well. Um, so I would go to my parents with all of this crazy rainbow cape configuration. I think is the best way to call it. It's like, oh yeah, okay, here's today. And I tell them this long, elaborate story about whatever was going on with the rainbow cape. And they would just sit there and take me very seriously. And they go, yep, that makes sense. Okay, be careful, be home for dinner from your mermaid adventure. We'll see you later. And I think that was a huge formative part of, it's one of the core memories because I remember running around in this cape. I remember how much joy it brought me. And then I remember that it was taken seriously. It wasn't brushed off. It was just, oh yeah, sounds good. We'll see you later. Be safe.
So what I'm hearing is you have a massive imagination.
Yes.
You're a dreamer because the imagination and being a dreamer kind of like go hand in hand. Do you still like rainbows?
I still love seeing rainbows. Every time I see one, I send a picture to my mom.
Oh, see, that's so sweet. It's like a through line right back to your childhood, and she probably cries every time.
Yes. She cries easily, but yes.
Same. I mean, that's what, because I would, if I were your, like, if I were your mom, I'd be like, every time I get like a random rainbow, like, honestly, I actually have friends. It's funny that you should say
Yeah.
rainbows because I actually have friends who send me rainbows when they see them, like, kind of just
Aw.
all the time. So, like, your story about this rainbow cape is so special. And, like, honestly, I wonder what it represents for you now. Like, do you ever like look into the rainbow, like, I don't know. How does it impact your creativity and your imagination today?
So funny enough, it actually, and I have my coach. I've worked with my coach for, oh God, Tara's been 4 or 5 years, something like that. She's a solid pillar in my life now. And I think she's part coach, part therapist at times. But
Sure.
when I was really struggling earlier on with my business and just trying to figure out how do I do sales? How do I do marketing? How do I wear all of these different hats and still am me throughout all of it? Because a lot of sales and marketing I do well, what has now become thought leadership and professional speaking relies on me and me being the face of it and me having to show up into situations where I'm in a room of 200 execs and they're all in suit and tie and staring me down. And I'm not a serious person. I am very quirky and full of energy in different directions. So how do I maintain that in a way that also, can communicate what needs to be done? And Tara and I had this conversation early on about what kind of imagery I needed to help me in those moments. A lot about I've learned a lot of techniques over the years working with her, just how to stay in the moment, be present, and be myself when I'm on stage. And one of the images that we kind of settled on was, okay, when I'm nervous for a stage or when I'm worried about going into a negotiation or a lot of my work is I'm not a lawyer, but I think it would be very similar to mediation, being an ethicist between all of this. So I'm in a lot of high intensity situations. She's like, well, we'll just put on the rainbow cape. And so it's an image actually that I have when I'm nervous to go into any type of situation where I'm leading or speaking. Sometimes, still to this day, I will put on my rainbow cape because it's kind of like not a piece of armor, but it's a piece of me. Like, okay, I'm gonna go walk into this room and I'm gonna craft the world that everyone else is gonna join me in, and then we're going to go from there. Just like I used to do with my rainbow cape, I crafted my world. This was the little piece of reality or imaginary reality that I was standing in that moment. And I can welcome people into that space with me so that we can then work together in the space that I've designed specifically for whatever reason we're working or whatever thing we need to work through. So I would say probably in an unexpected way, yeah, the rainbow cape still lives on.
It lives on in your heart. I mean, do you still physically have it still?
Yes, it is in my parents', of course, as everyone has a big plastic box with all of the random things from my childhood that is promised one day when you have kids, your kids are gonna have a lot of things that you probably don't even remember having, but we saved them for you. Don't worry. I do remember the cape, but it's vacuum sealed everything in there.
But did she save the slippers too? The
Oh
glass, the
yes.
okay, good, good.
Yes.
Okay, well,
Very sparkly. I think the sparkles fell off, but very sparkly.
I love that so much. A little bit of blisters, but who cares
Mm,
if you're wearing a rainbow cape?
beauty is pain. Yeah.
Yes, beauty is pain. Oh my goodness. So to pivot then, because like this was super fun to get us from then to now. But can you talk us a little bit through, because not everybody has the honor of knowing you as well as I do already. So can you kind of talk us through like how did we get from rainbow cape and glitter shoes to you today?
Well, definitely some character development in there, clearly. So let's see. I'll give you the abridged, not abridged sort of version here, because I can definitely pull out the entire textbook on it. But long story short, I went to undergrad. I studied philosophy. I grew up in the Bay Area, so I always grew up around tech. And out of rebellion and frustration with the lack of asking why, I went and studied philosophy. Found the world of ethics, fell absolutely in love with it. I like to describe it as it's you know how physicists will look at laws of nature to understand the world around them?
Hmm.
That's like ethics for me, understanding the laws of ethics, and that's how I start to understand the world around me, specifically how people relate to each other and move throughout life. So fell absolutely in love with this field. Finished my undergrad, promised myself I would come back to ethics as soon as I found something practical to do with it. I'm a very practical person, despite living in my imagination quite often. I then freelanced. I freelanced for a year or two in digital strategy and communications, mainly with, not even mainly, I was always in tech or tech adjacent. And it was a lot of how do I communicate a digital transformation or adopting a new technology, either internal or external. Through that process, landed myself in Brussels as a data privacy researcher on a contract. That was a little random. It made sense
I
retrospectively.
try not to interrupt people on the show. Like I
Please.
really try hard, but like I need to know Brussels. Like what led you to like that's like a
Hmm.
big change from the Bay Area to Brussels.
Yeah, I guess I skipped over some of that. I'm half Italian. When I finished my undergrad, I actually moved to Rome. So all of that freelancing I did, I was in Rome, then Brussels, and then up to Edinburgh, Scotland. So I was moving around as well. And I would basically pick a contract, one on-site contract with a couple of clients in the background. And that was my spur of I want to see the world, I want to live in different places. So the Brussels part landed in that time, hence why I ended up in Brussels. And I can talk more about that too, but ran across the conversation around data ethics. It was the cheesy light bulb moment of, well, that's something practical to do with ethics. And I'm already versed in the world of data and AI, just really by nature of growing up in the Silicon Valley. It's taught since day one. It is part of your social life. It is a part of your studies. It is a part of any type of life. That is part of it. So say, oh, perfect. All right, here's my industry and here's my love, and they come together. I'm going to do that. I did not look at career prospects, which was a good thing because back then AI ethicists didn't exist, and I would have been highly discouraged. But instead, being stubborn, but that's what I'm going to do. So, in order to help gain credentials, I went and did a master's degree in AI ethics in Edinburgh. So now we've got Scotland coming into the picture. Um, Finished that degree. Obviously, there's still no jobs as an AI ethicist, but there was work. I started noticing there were people looking for more research-based work in this space, just starting to grapple with some of these questions. So I started a company. It was called Ethical Intelligence. And the first years of ethical intelligence were consulting. More think tank moved into consulting space. At one point, I had 90 different experts globally. We had representation in all seven continents, all specifically for AI ethics and what became responsible AI. So I led that team for quite a while, and I reached a point where there's a difference in consulting between getting to do the work versus managing all of it. And I missed doing the work. I missed actually getting in there, doing the research part instead of just doing project management and a lot of marketing and sales at that point. And so I took a step back, scaled back the company. Ethical Intelligence still exists today. It's specifically focused on training and education. We have a community built behind it. Community is about 300 strong now. And right now we're focusing on AI literacy for non-technical professionals. But when I took a step back, I wrote my first book called Responsible AI. And that was one of the first pillar books out there specifically on this responsible AI space. This is when the industry term was just starting to get solidified. And since then, I consult independently, so just me. I consult primarily actually with new heads and chiefs of AI as they're building out their AI teams. I will build out the responsible AI strategy and infrastructure. And then I do a lot of professional speaking, and I'm currently working on my second book. And I think that was Not as long as it could have been, but it was definitely a lengthy explanation there.
No, I appreciate it honestly because honestly it's fascinating to me because you like without I don't know that you meant to, but like you saw around a corner
Yeah.
and like since you and I last spoke a couple years ago, this whole AI thing has exploded beyond anything that I honestly thought possible. I'm sure you were more realistic about it always, but I have been shocked to see just how quickly things have evolved. And
Yeah.
it makes me wonder because I am a curious human, when you talk about like being an AI ethicist, like what does that mean? Like on a practical
Mhm.
level?
So being an AI ethicist is, let me try and describe it this way. We as humans, part of the human experience is to make and grapple with ethical decisions. It's just part of life. That's it. That's not a problem to solve. It's not something that needs to be glanced over. It's part of the experience. It's how we learn as well. Now, what happens when it comes to an AI ethicist, it's not that I am a morally superior person that's done all of this research and I will tell you the right and wrong and the arbiter of truth. No. All it means is I have been equipped with frameworks, with mental models, with techniques and tools that help in aiding that ethical decision making. Ethical decision making is kind of like a muscle that you build up over time, where you go through different contexts and experiences, you learn from them, you adjust your decision making, you understand how to better align your decisions with your values. And so over time, as an ethicist, I'm building up that muscle so that it's like second nature for me to not only move through those decisions, but also help assist others, as well as surface the key decisions. What often happens in AI is we get so caught up in the building of the technology because it is quite complex and it does take a lot of focus that we're missing key ethical decisions that, if made better, I'm going to say stronger, then it would create a stronger product. It would create an AI that better aligns with our needs as people. So, as an ethicist, I think the easiest way to describe it is you have your values, and a lot of our, actually, the majority of our decisions as humans and the actions that we take revolve around our value sets, either our individual one, our family ones, the ones of our society, of our organization, so on. Values are these huge driving factor. They're kind of like forces of nature. And as an ethicist, all I'm doing is looking at the decisions. As an AI ethicist, I'm looking at the decisions and actions being made during AI development, both the actual technical side, but also the organizational side, the socioeconomic side, and looking at how, analyzing and assessing how to better align those decisions with those values, just so it works in alignment instead of trying to go against the grain of something that's so natural to us, actually run with it and help us move forward.
So what are the risks involved if we don't think about all this thoughtfully and ethically?
Hmm. I'm trying to think of a fun metaphor here to help. Um, let's say that you are okay, I'll use another fun story. One a little bit from my childhood here again. So I'm left-handed, right? I'm left-handed. Um, the absolute bane of my existence is right-handed scissors. I cannot cut with them. I absolutely hate them. They drive me insane. Growing up, especially in kindergarten, you're tested on can you cut in a straight line, which I could not, not because I didn't have hand-eye coordination, but because I had right-handed scissors. And it was driving me crazy. And the teachers were like, what's going on here? Because you're totally fine. You're doing great in all these other subjects, coloring and pattern matching. Like you're doing great everywhere else, but you can't cut for shit. Sorry, I swore there on that one.
Okay.
Um, and finally, they're trying to help me. They're explaining how to scissor, how to cut things in like very conceptual ways, and they're making me watch videos, and they're trying everything to figure out how to get this kid to cut in a straight line. Finally, they watch me one day, and they're like, "You are left-handed," and I'm like, "Yeah, this isn't new." you're like, well, no wonder you can't cut. So we got left-handed scissors, handed me them, and all of a sudden they're like, yep, there we go. You're totally fine. So I tell this story because when it comes to designing and developing AI, let's say we're building these solutions, we're deploying them, we're bringing them in-house into our organizations, we're bringing them into our lives, and we're using them, and everything's like, well, it's kind of working. It's kind of working. It sort of fits in places. It kind of gets us to where we want to go, but it's not entirely a straight path. We needed X, Y, and Z, and we're getting, you know, X, Y, and B sort of out of this process, but it's not quite hitting the mark. And then all of a sudden we look at it and we go, oh, right, it's because we're all left-handed. We all have these values that drive a lot of our decision making that we weren't considering before, that we were blind to. So of course we're not able to actually get to the end goal, to the purpose of this technology, because we've completely forgot a huge key factor that felt very small, but actually made an entire difference in the outcome. And that's really the risk when it comes to not considering values in the world of AIs. We're not considering such a huge facet of what it means to be human. And that means we're going to stunt any type of development or implementation. AI is always just going to be kind of working instead of actually working with what we need if ethics isn't a part, if our values and ethics aren't a part of those conversations.
It can all feel very overwhelming, as I'm sure you
Yes.
were overwhelmed with the scissors. Like, I'm thinking about it reminds me a little bit of like sneakers when you go hiking and like you get a new pair of sneakers to go hiking and they your back is hurting and your feet are hurting and you have blisters 10 minutes in and you're like, "What? I
Yep.
trained for this. What is wrong with me?" And you're wearing the wrong shoes is
Yep.
what's wrong. You are not what's wrong. You're wearing the wrong shoes. So I know that like I'm actually pretty sure that this question that I'm about to ask will be outdated by the time this episode airs because of how fast everything's moving. But for the people that do feel overwhelmed by basically everything you just said,
Yeah.
what do they need to understand now? Like right now, in this moment?
Mm. I would say that this question is not going to be outdated because it is a question that we've been asking of AI since at least the last 10 years, even in higher volume in the last five since we had ChatGPT come out. But this is a question that we continue to grapple with. And it is one that I am in the process of hopefully starting to address in my next book. But I would say at this point in time, what you need to know is the technology doesn't matter as much as your need does. Let me break that down. You can have the world's fanciest AI, and there's some pretty snazzy AI out there, and it's fascinating technology. I mean, when you dig into it, and I don't code, but I do understand. I can speak techie. I can speak the language of engineers and figure out what's going on. I don't speak a coding language, I think is the right way to put it. When you dig down into it, it's fascinating what people have built. It's quite beautiful in some ways. It's sometimes I would call it an art. But even if you have this beautifully engineered, perfectly created AI that's got all the bells and whistles, it's not going to do anything for you unless you actually know your need to start with. And so, with all of that overwhelm, what I want people to focus on and what I try and stress is know your need first before you turn to the technology. By all means, play around with it. That's a need itself, the need to play, the need to explore and see what's possible. But if you don't have a need for AI, then you don't have a need for it and you don't have to use it. That I think is not said enough. It doesn't need to be a part of every single facet of your life. It can be a part of select facets that you have found a specific problem or need that you want solved with that is solvable by AI, and you're intentionally bringing it into your life, into your business, and so on. But that's up to you. You have to go come to the technology saying, this is what I need. Meet me here, not go to the tech and be like, okay, I'm going to try and fit to this. It's not going to work.
As AI gets smarter, What becomes more important about remembering our humanity?
Mm. Oh, I like this question. There's so many things, but I think if I was going to summarize all of it, I love that you're asking me this right now because a little bit of background. I am 4 months into book research, and the next book is called Not Every Solution Has a Problem, which with that title starts to make sense of what soapbox I'm on right now. But as I'm mid research, I feel like I'm surfacing all of these factors about humanity that are so essential just to being human, the experience that were never necessarily problems to solve in the first place. And now I'm in the process of looking at that in the context of AI and how this all works together. And this is a teaser. But what it all keeps coming back down to is in this age of AI, and as AI continues to, I'm going to put it in quotes, get smarter, because it's smart in a very narrow definition, not necessarily smart in how we would describe a person. And we can go back to that. But as AI gets smarter, the thing that I want people to remember the most is maybe not even remember, but feel or have as a part of their perspective is a sense of respect and awe for what it means to be human at the end of the day. We're not just our intelligence, we're really, really complex. There are so many different moving factors of being human. There's things that we do that don't make sense, that are counterproductive if you put it into the world of AI. AI is designed to be perfect, yet as humans, imperfection is something we actually are drawn towards and that we thrive in because it gives us freedom to move around and explore. So those already are two clashing factors. And it's not that AI does it better, it's that we need to maintain that respect and awe for ourselves, for the people sitting in front of across the table from us, for our communities, for just the whole human experience. When you start to look at it, you walk away going, damn, that's cool. That's fascinating. That's all right. I'm starting to ramble a little bit here, but one of the questions that I'm asking in these interviews that I'm conducting for book research, I ask people what's sacred to their work. And I use the word sacred for a very specific reason, not for religious or ethical or spiritual reasons, but actually, sacred to me means something that is of value without having to be defined why. It just is. It is something important, and that's the important part. And I think there are factors of humanity, of being human, that are sacred by that definition. Like, we don't have to explain it. We don't have to explain why we crave connection. We just do. That's something that we need, and it is important because it is important. So it's factors like that. And when you actually start to look at those, that is something that is so awe-inspiring about humanity. So yeah, okay. I'm coming back around full circle. Yeah, we're creating this technology that's fascinating and really freaking cool. But don't forget that this all comes from us, from humans, and that being alive and being on this earth and doing who knows what with it is also really freaking cool. And not to forget that.
So how do we do that? Like, how do we make sure that we
Mm,
don't lose connection, presence, and meaning in a world that is increasingly automated?
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard. I'm watching right now. I get asked all the time, what trends are you watching in AI? I'm not really watching trends in the technology now. I'm actually watching trends in people
Mm.
and how humans are interacting both with the technology, but also what we're doing in response to AI development. One of the main human trends that I'm really seeing become prevalent is this return to the analog, this almost not necessarily rejection of the technology, but this pushback of, hold on, I want to go outside for 3 hours today and lay in the grass. Or Musicians. I've talked to a good chunk of musicians lately, and ones that have had their musical instruments that are more digital, so like techno, EDM, they're going out purposely and learning really random instruments because they're like, I want to be able to do this. AI can't play the oboe or the saxophone. I'm going to play it. And um, or like writers, as a writer myself, I'm talking with other writers, and we have this conversation of, yeah, ChatGPT, so to speak, made us better writers because we're not using it to improve our writing, but we're actually tired of all of the monochromatic AI slop out there that we're pushing our voices in different ways that we probably wouldn't have prior to AI out of fear of just going too outside the box. And now it's no, we want to be as far outside that box so you know that this is written by a human. So I'm seeing this craving and this surge back towards parts that matter and parts that matter about our day to day, about being human. Um, but at the end of the day, it is hard because it comes back to you. And I think, all right, I'm going to try something that I've picked up in this book research that I haven't really been that I've been workshopping. But one of the themes that keeps coming up in a lot of my research is around storytelling and the importance of the stories that we tell ourselves.
Mhm.
And I kid you not, I have heard some of the most random professions ask this same exact question. I've had a financial analyst, I've had a nutritionist, I've had a lawyer, I've had a lot of artists, I've had a Buddhist prison chaplain, I had a yoga teacher, all ask this same question. So, you know,
Fascinating.
wildly different. And they always ask, well, what story do you want to tell yourself? What story are you going to tell about who you are? And that's what it comes down to when we're looking at how do I find the courage to go a little bit against the grain where it's not even against the grain. I think people don't realize how much everyone else, how much their neighbor is craving this same return back to the simple yet complex parts of being human. We're just afraid to say it because we don't want to fall behind. I think if I lost a bit of my train of thought there, I got really excited. I
Well,
get
maybe I can
excited.
get you back because
Yes,
what you're getting at, I think, maybe is that like
please.
the rise of AI is kind of strong arming, forcing us to get really introspective and answer what it really means to be human.
Yep.
Like simply put, like that's and isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
And I think you mean you're researching it for your book,
Yeah.
and I hope maybe we can get back to what you were thinking, but as a journey there, I'm wondering more about this about what you talked with the musicians about because for me, I
Mm,
talk about Quick Before You Forget is a podcast built to help people build their unreal life from the ground up using
yeah.
tools like music, mindset, and movement to remember who you are while you build who you become. So
Yeah.
music is one of the tools in the tool belt, so to speak. And I'm wondering, like, because I mean, obviously the EDM folks, said are learning different instruments and stuff, which is
Yeah.
super, like, that blows my mind and also makes so much sense. But also, like, picturing an EDM person playing a saxophone is so fun for me.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
It's a vibe.
Total vibe. Oh my gosh, I'm losing it. Such a vibe. So what's the most interesting thing you learned from the musicians so far? Without spoiling, the chapter in the book. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'll share this one. It's not necessarily directly with music, but um, it's actually a good friend of mine who I've guilt tripped a lot of my friends for some of these first interviews. But one of my good friends, he's an Italian Iranian musician, fascinating background. He's lived in all these different places, um, especially what's going on in Iran right now. He produces a lot of music to support his people. Um, so just beautiful ways in the way that he approaches music. He approaches it both as something political, but something healing and something um, written to help inspire and give awareness. Um, and he said something that still sits in my mind, and now I look for. Because he's got a big, I say all this, he's got a big online following, and in person, but he's got a big audience. Basically, that's the right way to say it. And during the interview, he starts complaining. He's like, I really miss the crappy social media comments. He's like, I miss it when there were all these misspellings and like weird word choices and ones that kind of looked like crazy people ranting. He's like, I miss those. Now it just feels like everyone's copy pasting from AI and it's all too perfect and it all just sounds the same. And his whole thing, I mean, a lot of his music is based off of what his audiences are going through in that moment. He again he has a strong community behind his music. He has a strong community both in Italy and Iran and now in the States. And so he's very receptive to what his audience is going through and communicates. And he finds inspiration for his music through comments, through connecting with people. And he's like, well, I missed that. I feel like that got robbed because everyone felt like they needed to be perfect when really the thing that I loved about it was the imperfection of it. And that's really been sticking with me of that. And so yeah, now he just goes onto the streets and talks to random people to get similar imperfection because that's where his inspiration for his music thrives.
That sounds so fun. What is his name?
Payman Sleemy.
Okay, well, we'll have to shout him out in the show notes for sure, and I will
Yes.
follow him on all the places because he sounds like a fascinating person that I would love to know better. Do you have like music in your life that makes you feel grounded? Like something, I've been asking my friends
Yeah.
on the show, like, is there a song of survival that you turn to when things are hard that you just like need, like it helps ground you and bring you back to the present moment?
I would say, first of all, music in general, yes. I don't think I could do what I do without music. I have specific playlists for specific moods and things. And I do have a playlist that is full of songs when I am down on myself or when I am frustrated or stuck. I go to this playlist and I go for a walk and I have my come to Jesus, come to Olivia moments of hold on, girl, it's not that complicated. Um, it's not that serious. And the song, though, the specific song that's followed me throughout my entire life that I continuously return to that is, um, I don't know, like an old friend because it's taken on so many different forms and meanings throughout the years. But no matter where I am in life, it always carries some meaning for me. I think you're probably gonna laugh. I don't even know if you know this song. Do you know Fatboy Slim?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. It's one of his niche songs, and it is That Old Pair of Jeans by Fatboy Slim.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to share your playlist with us? Like, can we put it in my show notes so that people can see? Or if not, that's okay. Like, if it's private and personal, I totally respect that. But I think it's
I
so
can def
fun.
I can share it. It is a wacky playlist. It is I think there's some in your feels kind of songs that are deep and emotional. And then I've got I've got Golden from the 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 Korean
Oh yeah,
animation.
yeah.
Yeah, that
It's
big song.
K-pop,
K- the
K-pop
K-pop,
Demon.
yeah.
Yes,
The Golden song from it
it's
because that one's
catchy.
like
That
a
one,
hype
I
up
can
song.
hear it.
Yep. Yep, that's also on that playlist. So
I
it's
love
a
it.
it's a
Eclectic.
yes, it's a roller
Yes.
coaster ride of a listen.
Love that so much on every level. And I think what's honestly, we're talking a lot about humanity today.
Mhm.
And I think what's fascinating to me is, sometimes I hold back with the music question because somebody tells me beforehand that, like, don't really care about music too much. Like, we don't need to go there. It's happened a couple times. But for the most part, every single human that I've had
Yeah.
on the show lights up when it's time to
Yeah.
talk about music. They're like, "Hi," it's like, "Hey, hey,"
Like, let me
it's
tell
like
you.
candy time, like or snack
Yeah.
time. It's so great, and I think that that's really a reflection of kind of what you were saying about getting back to the basics of humanity a little bit, and like just we think about like how we connect and how we heal through music. It's such a cool thing, and so thank you for it's not you're like you're gonna laugh or it's too eclectic. No, because it's actually been really cool to see. I have one friend in particular who I've made fairly recently who's become a huge fan of the show, and she recently on one of her Instagram stories shared a song by Yema, which
Yeah.
it's Yaima. And my friend Rushi was episode 3 or 4, and she shared, and it ended up being because Rushi talked about Yema, and I'm like, this is exactly why I'm asking this
There you
question.
go.
It's so fun, and I'm grateful. So, I know this is not that hard because you're not that much older than this, but what would you tell 22-year-old you if you could?
Ooh, let's see.
Because you have
Actually,
lived a crazy life. I mean, like all
yeah.
those different places and all those different people and experiences. So I'm just curious.
I do joke I have crammed a lot of life into this past decade, that's for sure. And the one before that, yeah. I um God, what would I tell 22-year-old Olivia? I think I would tell her to, hold on, buckle up. This is gonna be just go for it. I'm not I there's nothing I would change. Um there's nothing I would change other than not change, but I think what I would want her to know or to tell her would be, I think trust yourself would be something that comes to mind there. Not that I don't, but speaking of my coach again, we talk about this all the time. I'm definitely a very intuition driven person. But what I usually do is I get an intuition or I get a gut feeling, and then I circle around it for way too long. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do this and maybe I'll do this. And I just keep coming back to it and back to it. And then finally, I will come back to whatever the idea was or the direction and go, okay, I'm going to do this. And every single time my coach Tara was like, finally, I was tired of the circles. Like, we know, she's like, I can predict probably a few months out what decision you're going to take because you already have it. You just kind of go in circles around it. And it's something I've been working on is to decrease the amount of circles that I do until I come back to trust and move forward with whatever that gut feeling was because it always leads me in the direction that I need to go. And so I think I think it's important that I've done those circles and I've questioned things, but I think I would tell 22-year-old Olivia just to take a deep breath, that, to trust that all of the decisions will lead me somewhere and that I will be able to take care of myself. I will be able to take care of the people around me that when I need things the most, they come through. It just to trust where life is going and take a little bit of the fear burden I think that I had earlier on off of her shoulders. Still make her go through hell. She's got to learn a lot, but not, I don't think I needed as much fear factor behind it that I've learned to quiet now.
There's all kinds of stories that I want to talk and dig into with that because I have a lot of thoughts on that, but we're short on time, so I'm going to keep it reeled in and
Yeah.
ask you you said something pretty cool, which is like you wouldn't actually change anything, which makes me wonder if you have had like an unreal moment, honestly, for good or for bad, that
Mm.
happened when it happened and it was like shocking, startling, whatever that you realized later happened for you instead of to you.
Mm. I think you described a lot of my 20s actually in just that statement. There were so many moments where um okay, let me give you a good one actually. There were I had to sort through a lot there real quick.
You
But
did great.
thank you. I'm just going with the first ones that come to mind. One of the really jarring ones was right right as we were coming out of the first year of COVID, first, second year of COVID, something like that. Um, I was still running ethical intelligence at this point, and ethical intelligence, I still run ethical intelligence, still running ethical intelligence as a consultancy. And as any consultant knows, it is feast or famine. So you either have too many projects on, or you are trying to figure out how to, run that gap in between. And we had already been hit by COVID because a lot of the marketing and sales was done by me in person. And then a lot of our work was done in person too. So it completely rocked everything. And companies all over the place scaled back budgets to help protect. And so a lot of our projects had gotten cut then. So I had just gotten us through COVID. I had just gotten us through, and work was starting to come back. And I was like, all right, I've somehow run that gauntlet and got us through a very, very tumultuous time because it was still a young company. This isn't, we're not at McKinsey. We don't have, ridiculous budgets that we could ride the coattails from. This was still a young company. And I was getting that hope. We had a whole, oh gosh, portfolio of projects coming online. We were about to go through our next round of sizable work that was going to both carry us, but also put us into that kind of feast point of time and actually be able to move forward again. And then we hit the tech layoffs. And I don't know if, for background context for people that don't know, right after COVID, about a year or two after, there were massive rounds of tech layoffs, massive rounds because of all of the kind of bloating hiring that had happened both prior and during COVID.
Mhm.
And it just so happened that the first teams that got cut were all the ones that we had contracts with. So we went from having a portfolio that was about to carry us to nothing. And I remember I got those calls all within a span of a week. And I sat there, I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Um, and in that moment, it was just this, oh God, I don't think I can do this. And I'm so glad that that moment happened because it showed me a few things. I was able to turn to my team and um, we made plans and I helped them find jobs and we figured out how to make things work. Basically, I basically put the company on ice for about a year because I hit the point where I was like, I need to step away. And I had an amazing team that supported me through that, and I'm still good friends with a lot of them. I helped them go and find jobs and made sure that they were taken care of. And then I put everything on ice, and I was going to actually take, I don't know, 6 months off or something just to try and take a deep breath. And as soon as I paused, I got contacted by my first publisher, and they reached out and asked if I wanted to write a book. And because I wasn't running the company, because I wasn't caught up in the day to day, and because I had all of this experience basically in an industry that didn't exist yet, and I was getting asked to write a book on it, I was like, yeah, I can do that. And that book changed the entire trajectory of where my career is at today. So it happened for me, I would say, because now I'm in a place where I work with amazing teams and I have amazing people around me, but I'm not caught up in the grueling cyclone that is running a consultancy. I'm now doing the work that I love. And yeah, retrospectively, that was a great moment to happen. Scary, but a great moment.
Yeah, isn't that funny how that always seems to happen that way with the fear and excitement being the same chemical in your brain, by the way, as you probably know, and we get to
Mhm.
choose what happens, next. And
Yeah.
from something that I know because I follow you and I followed you on social media for quite a while, being an author was always your dream. Like you always wanted to be an author. So like having your dream come true in what seemed like a fugue of awfulness is this beautiful, beautiful way to almost end the episode. But before we
Yeah.
do, I have one more question, which is, well, two more if we have time, but one more
Yeah.
specifically is the megaphone moment. So if I
Hmm.
handed you a megaphone right now and like for some weird reason, everybody in the world had to listen to you for like 30 to 60 seconds, what would you say?
Oh, okay. I think it comes back to something I was talking about before, and it's just where my mind is in my research and what I want to do right now. It's all coming back to, hey, okay, we've got this fancy technology, but don't forget in this process that you are a human being and there are parts to being human that aren't going to make sense, that matter to you for reasons that you can't explain, and that's the reason you're here. That's the whole point of it. It's we don't need technology to find purpose for us. We don't need AI to help us connect with our neighbor. We need to be vulnerable with each other, with ourselves. We need to embrace imperfection and a sense of play and create space for us to be able to do that. All of these pieces are so uniquely human and matter at the end of the day. And that's a good thing. That's that's the whole point of it. That's why we're here. So don't lose that sense of awe and respect for being a human. It's a messy business, but it's something that is awe-inspiring.
So awe-inspiring that it reminds me of a moment that I actually was reflecting on earlier before we got talking about Andrew McMahon. He's a
Mhm.
musician that I really love, and Swim is my song of survival. And he performed a song at a very pivotal moment in my life wearing a light up rainbow cape. And I'm
That's
thinking
awesome.
that we need to get one. Like you and I need, we
Yes.
both need that light up. I need to ask
Love that.
Andrew, hey Andrew, where did the light up cape come from? Because I think Olivia and I both need it to remind us of literally
Yes.
everything you just said. So Olivia, thank you for your time. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the energy and for the information and for the level set on something that can feel very like hard to understand for people. And I want to ask, because we do have a couple more seconds, is there anything
Yeah.
else that I didn't ask that you want to share? Obviously, I know you're working on book two and it's going to be amazing and everybody needs to pre-order it. What else can you tell us about what's going on with you?
Oh gosh, what else is going on with me? I don't know. I got a lot of I'm at a pivotal point again where I've done a lot of work in AI and I found it fascinating. And AI is complex, but it's really not that complex at the end of the day. I think actually that's probably a message for people too. You don't need a technical background. If someone tells you that you don't understand AI, they don't understand AI.
Mm.
You have every capacity to be able to understand it. And I think being someone that has worked so long in I think it says a lot that now I'm coming full circle and coming back to nope, the interesting part all along has been the person, has been the human, the people using it, the people building it. That's the interesting part. The tech's cool, but it's the people that are worth it at the end of the day. And that's the pivotal point where my career is kind of taking a turn at the moment as of a new focus. So that's
And
it. That's
and what
me.
we all need to be reminded of every single day. So thank you again. I appreciate you so much. And we'll see you next time on Quick Before You Forget.
Thank you, Ty. That was really fun.
Thank you for being here with me today on Quick Before You Forget. Please like, share, and subscribe as that helps the show so much, and I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time on Quick Before You Forget.